The warning lights inside the escape pod flashed red and orange. Sumi grabbed the handles above her head and held on tight. The small pod was shaking so hard that her teeth were hitting each other. Through the tiny window, she could see fire. The atmosphere of the moon was burning everything that tried to enter it. "Come on," Sumi whispered to herself. "Hold together. Just a little more." She was a field medic on the human exploration ship called the Wandering Star. 3 hours ago, everything was normal. She was checking her medical supplies and getting ready for dinner. Then the alarm started screaming. A navigation error had sent the ship too close to a gravity woe. The captain ordered everyone to abandon ship. Sumi made it to an escape pod. She launched it just before the main ship broke apart. Now she was falling toward an uncharted moon, and she had no idea what was waiting for her down there. The pod hit the ground hard. Sumi's body slammed against the safety straps. For a moment, everything went black. When she opened her eyes again, the warning lights had stopped. The pod was still. Smoke was rising from somewhere behind her. She touched her forehead and felt blood. A small cut, nothing serious. Her training kicked in immediately. She checked her arms and legs. Everything worked. She pressed the emergency release button and the pod door flew open. Fresh air rushed inside. It smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Sumi climbed out carefully and looked around. She was in a valley surrounded by tall purple mountains. The sky above was a soft orange color, with 2 small suns setting on the horizon. The ground was covered with short blue grass that moved gently in the wind. It was beautiful, but Sumi did not have time to enjoy the view. She went back into the pod and grabbed her emergency bag. Inside was a basic medical kit, some food packets, a water filter, and a communication device. She tried the communicator first, but it was dead. The crash had destroyed it. "Great," Sumi said to no one. "No ship, no communication. No idea where I am." She was alone on an alien moon with no way to call for help. But Sumi was not the type of person who gave up easily. She had trained for situations like this. The first rule was simple: find shelter and stay alive until rescue comes. She started walking. The blue grass was soft under her boots. The air was breathable, which was a small miracle. Most alien moons had atmospheres that would kill a human in seconds. This one was different. Maybe there was life here. After walking for about an hour, Sumi saw something in the distance. Buildings. Small round structures made of brown stone. A settlement. Her heart beat faster. If there were buildings, there were people. Or at least some kind of intelligent beings. Maybe they could help her. Maybe they had communication equipment. She walked toward the settlement carefully. As she got closer, she saw movement between the buildings. Figures were walking around, doing everyday tasks. They were not human. The beings were covered in soft fur, mostly gray and silver. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but they were shorter and had long tails. Their faces looked like a mix between a cat and a fox, with large amber eyes and small pointed ears. They wore simple clothes made of woven fabric. Sumi stopped at the edge of the settlement. She raised her hand slowly to show that she meant no harm. One of the beings noticed her and let out a sharp cry. Within seconds, the entire settlement was in chaos. Beings ran in all directions. Mothers grabbed their children and pulled them inside the buildings. Males picked up weapons that looked like long spears with glowing tips. They formed a line in front of the settlement, their first standing up in fear. An older male stepped forward. He was holding a small device that looked like a scanner. His eyes were wide as he looked at the readings. "Human?" he said. His voice was rough, and the word came out slowly, like he had learned it from a book but never spoken it before. "You are human." Sumi kept her hands raised. "Yes, I am human. My name is Sumi. My ship crashed. I need help." The old male turned to the others and spoke in a language Sumi did not understand. The words were fast and filled with clicking sounds. The other beings looked even more scared after he finished speaking. "You cannot be here," the old male said to Sumi. "Humans are dangerous. Your blood is poison. Your body carries death. The databases warn us about your kind." Sumi blinked in surprise. She had heard this before. Many alien species feared humans because of their biology. Humans carried bacteria that could kill other beings. Human blood contained iron, which was toxic to some species. Even human saliva could be deadly. "I understand," Sumi said calmly. "But I am not here to hurt anyone. I just need to contact my people. Do you have any communication equipment?" Before the old male could answer, a sound cut through the air. It was a cough. A small, weak, terrible cough that came from somewhere behind the line of guards. Everyone went quiet. The old male's face changed. The fear in his eyes was replaced by something else. Pain. Deep, terrible pain. A female pushed through the crowd. She was smaller than the others, with pale gray fur that was almost white. In her arms, she held a small bundle wrapped in blankets. It was a child. A cub. The cub was coughing again. Each cough shook its tiny body. Its breathing was fast and shallow. Its fur was wet with sweat. Even from where she stood, Sumi could see that the cub was very sick. The mother looked at the old male with desperate eyes. "Baru," she said. "Baru, he's getting worse. What do we do? The medicine ship will not come for 3 more days. Tal will not survive that long." The old male, Baru, lowered his head. His shoulders fell. "I do not know, Ryan. I have tried everything. The infection is too strong. Without proper medicine..." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Sumi watched the scene with growing concern. She was a medic. She had trained for years to help sick and injured people. The cub was clearly suffering from some kind of respiratory infection. She had seen similar symptoms in human children many times. And in her bag, she had medicine. Sumi took a step forward. The guards immediately raised their weapons. She stopped but did not step back. "That cub is sick," she said, looking directly at the mother named Ryan. "I am a healer. I might be able to help." Ryan's amber eyes met Sumi's human eyes. For a moment, there was a connection. 2 females, 2 different species, one shared fear. The fear of watching a child die. But then Baru stepped between them, his scanner pointing at Sumi like a weapon. "No," he said firmly. "You are human. Whatever medicine you carry would kill him faster than the sickness. Stay away from the child." The guards pushed forward, forcing Sumi back. She did not fight. She simply watched as Ran carried her dying cub back into the settlement. Her cries fading into the alien night. Sumi stood alone in the blue grass, listening to the sound of a mother's grief. She looked down at her medical bag and thought about the children's cough syrup inside. It was harmless to humans. It had saved countless human children, but to these beings, it was poison. The question was, could she convince them otherwise before it was too late? The night on the alien moon was cold. The 2 small suns had disappeared behind the purple mountains, and the temperature dropped quickly. Sumi sat on a flat rock near the edge of the settlement, wrapped in a thin emergency blanket from her survival kit. The guards had not let her enter the village, but they had also not forced her to leave. She could see them watching her from behind their stone buildings. They took turns, always keeping at least 2 pairs of those large amber eyes on her at all times. They were afraid of her. A single human female, unarmed, hungry, and tired. And they looked at her like she was a monster. Sumi understood their fear. She had read the galactic databases during her training. Humans were classified as a level 4 biochemical hazard. Their saliva contained enzymes that could dissolve alien tissue. Their skin released oils that caused allergic reactions in many species. Their blood carried iron, a metal that was toxic to half the known galaxy. Humans were walking poison factories. At least, that was what the databases said. But Sumi was also a healer. She had spent 10 years learning how to save lives. She had worked in hospitals on 3 different human colony worlds. She had treated thousands of patients, human and alien alike. She knew the truth that the databases did not mention. Humans could be dangerous, yes, but they could also be incredibly helpful. The problem was getting these beings to believe that. A sound came from one of the nearby buildings. Sumi looked up and saw the mother, Ryan, standing in the doorway. The light from inside the building made her pale for a glow. She was looking at Sumi with an expression that was hard to read. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Ryan walked toward her. The guard shifted nervously, but Ryan waved them away with a tired motion of her hand. She stopped a few meters from Sumi and stood there, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. "You said you are a healer," Ryan said. Her voice was quiet and rough from crying. Sumi nodded slowly. "Yes, that is my job. I help sick people get better. Even aliens? Even beings who are not human? I try to help anyone who needs it." Ryan was quiet for a moment. Her large eyes reflected the light of the stars above. "The old one, Boru, he is our village healer. He says my son has an infection in his lungs. The tiny living things that cause sickness have filled his breathing passages. Without special medicine, his lungs will stop working within 1 or 2 days." Sumi felt her heart squeeze with sadness. 1 or 2 days? That was not much time. What kind of medicine does he need? Sumi asked. "Something that kills the tiny living things without killing him. Something that clears the thick fluid from his lungs so he can breathe again. We had such medicine, but we used the last of it 2 moon cycles ago. The supply ship was supposed to bring more, but the cosmic storm delayed everything." Sumi thought carefully. The symptoms Ryan described sounded exactly like a bacterial infection with mucus buildup. Human children got similar infections all the time, especially during cold seasons. There were many medicines that could treat it, and one of those medicines was sitting in her bag right now. "I might have something that could help," Sumi said carefully. Ryan's eyes widened with hope. But then the hope faded just as quickly. "Boru already scanned your medical supplies when you were not looking. He said everything in your bag is toxic to us. Your medicines contain substances that our bodies cannot process." "That may be true for some of them," Sumi admitted. "But there is one medicine that might work. It is designed for human children. Very young, very small human children. The ingredients are simple. They are meant to break up mucus and calm coughs." Ryan shook her head sadly. "Boru showed me the scan results. He said your child medicine contains refined glucose, which is a type of sugar that acts like poison in our bodies. It also contains alcohol derivatives and synthetic compounds. Any one of those things would kill Tal faster than the infection." Sumi felt frustration building inside her. She knew the medicine was safe. She had given it to human children hundreds of times. But to these aliens, the ingredients looked like a list of deadly toxins. "Can I see your son?" Sumi asked. "Just see him. Maybe I can understand his sickness better." Ryan hesitated. Her tail twitched nervously behind her. The others would not allow it. "They say humans carry invisible death on their skin. They say you breathe out poison with every breath." "I will stay far away," Sumi promised. "I will not touch him. I just want to look." The mother's face twisted with inner conflict. On one side was her fear of humans, a fear that had been taught to her species for generations. On the other side was her love for her child, a love that was bigger than any fear. Love won. "Follow me," Ryan said quietly. "But stay close to me and do not speak to anyone." She led Sumi through the settlement. The other beings watched with wide, frightened eyes. Mothers pulled their children away. Males gripped their weapons tightly. But no one stopped them. They reached a small round building near the center of the village. Ryan pushed aside a heavy cloth that covered the doorway, and they went inside. The inside of the building was warm and filled with soft light from glowing stones set into the walls. In the center of the single room was a low bed covered with blankets and cushions. And on that bed, barely visible under the covers, was the cub. Tal was small, even smaller than Sumi had expected. His silver-gray fur was dark with sweat. His tiny chest rose and fell rapidly, each breath a struggle. His eyes were half closed, and thick fluid dripped from his small nose. Baru was sitting beside the bed, watching the cub with old, tired eyes. When he saw Sumi enter, he stood up quickly. "What is she doing here?" he demanded. "Ryan, have you lost your mind?" "She is staying near the door," Ryan said. "She will not touch him. She just wants to look." Baru turned to Sumi with anger in his eyes. "There is nothing you can do, human. I have already tried every remedy we have. I have used steam from healing plants. I have applied warming pastes to his chest. I have given him liquids to drink. Nothing works. The infection is too deep." Sumi looked at the struggling cub and felt something break inside her chest. She had seen this same scene many times on human worlds. A sick child, a desperate mother, a healer who had run out of options. But on human worlds, she had always been able to help. She had medicine. She had knowledge. She had skills. Here she had nothing but distrust. "How long does he have?" Sumi asked. Baru's anger faded into sadness. "If his fever does not break by morning, his body will start to shut down. By midday tomorrow, he will be gone." Ryan made a small, broken sound. She went to the bed and knelt beside her son, taking his tiny paw in her hands. "Tal," she whispered. "Tal, stay with me. Please stay with me." The cub's eyes fluttered open for a moment. He looked at his mother and tried to smile, but he was too weak. His eyes closed again, and another coughing fit shook his small body. Sumi watched helplessly. The medicine in her bag could save this child. She was almost certain of it. The cough syrup contained dextromethorphan to calm the cough, guaifenesin to break up the mucus, and yes, glucose and artificial flavoring to make it taste good. To humans, it was completely harmless. Children drank it by the spoonful when they had colds. But to these beings, those same ingredients were poison. Or at least, that was what they believed. Sumi made a decision. If they would not trust her words, maybe they would trust her actions. Maybe she needed to prove that the medicine was safe in the only way that would convince them. She would drink it herself. It was a crazy idea. A stupid idea, perhaps. But it was the only idea she had. She stepped back toward the doorway, her mind racing with plans. She would wait for the right moment. She would gather her courage. And then she would show these aliens what humans were really made of. Because if she did nothing, Tal would die. And Sumi had not become a healer to watch children die. Tomorrow, she would act. Tomorrow, everything would change. The night stretched on, filled with the sound of a dying cub's painful breathing. Morning came slowly to the alien moon. The two small suns rose behind the purple mountains, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The blue grass sparkled with drops of dew. It would have been a beautiful morning, if not for the sounds coming from the center of the settlement. Sumi had not slept. She had spent the night sitting outside Rian's building, listening to the cubs labor breathing through the thin walls. Every cough, every wheeze, every small cry of pain had reached her ears. And with each sound, her determination had grown stronger. She was going to save that child. No matter what it took. As the village began to wake up, Sumi saw beings emerging from their homes. They moved slowly, their faces heavy with worry. Word had spread about the cub's condition. Everyone knew that little Tal was dying. Baru came out of the healing house and walked toward the center of the village. His old body moved with tiredness. He had stayed up all night trying to help the cub, and it showed in every step he took. Sumi stood up and followed him, keeping her distance but not hiding. The guards saw her moving and formed a loose circle around her, but they did not try to stop her. Perhaps they were too tired. Perhaps they no longer saw the point. A crowd was gathering in the village center. Ryan appeared, carrying Tal in her arms. The cub looked even worse than before. His fur was matted and dull. His breathing was so shallow that his chest barely moved. His small body hung limp in his mother's arms. Baru raised his hands to get everyone's attention. "My friends," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow, "I have tried everything in my knowledge to save young Tal. I have used every medicine, every remedy, every technique our people have developed over thousands of years. None of it has worked." A murmur of grief ran through the crowd. Several females began to weep quietly. "The infection is too strong," Baru continued. "His little body is too weak. Unless something changes in the next few hours, we will lose him. I am sorry. I have failed." Ryan let out a sob. She clutched Tal closer to her chest, as if she could protect him from death through love alone. Sumi pushed forward through the crowd. The beings around her stepped back in alarm, but she ignored them. She walked until she was standing in the open space before Baru and Ryan. "Wait," she said loudly. "There is something else we can try." Baru's old eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Human, we have already discussed this. Your medicine is poison to us. I will not allow you to harm the child." "I know what you believe," Sumi said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small purple bottle. "The children's cough syrup. I know you think this is toxic. I know your scanners say it contains dangerous substances. But I am telling you, this medicine can save Tal's life." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some beings hissed with fear. Others clutched their children protectively. Baru stepped forward, his scanner already in his hand. He pointed it at the bottle and read the results out loud. Dextromethorphan, 15 milligrams per dose. Guaifencin, 100 milligrams per dose. High fructose corn syrup. Artificial flavoring. Sodium benzoate. He looked up at Sumi with disbelief. "This is a list of toxins. Any one of these could kill a Valari in minutes. Combined together, it would be a painful, horrible death. For a Valari, maybe," Sumi said. "But for a human? This is what we give to our sick children. This is how we cure them. I have given this medicine to thousands of human babies, and they all got better. Not one of them was harmed." "You are not Valari," Baru shot back. "Your bodies are different. You can survive things that would destroy us. That does not mean this poison is safe for the child." Sumi looked at Ryan. The mother was staring at her with desperate, tear-filled eyes. She wanted to believe. She wanted to hope. But fear held her back. "Please," Ryan whispered. "If there was any chance. But how can I trust you? How can I give my son something that might kill him?" Sumi took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. This was the point of no return. "You want proof that this medicine is safe," she said. "You want to know that it will not harm Tal. Fine, I will prove it to you." She uncapped the bottle. The sweet grape-flavored smell rose into the air. Several beings nearby covered their noses and stepped back. "What are you doing?" Baru demanded. Sumi raised the bottle to her lips. "I am going to drink it. I am going to swallow a dose much larger than what your son needs. And then you are going to watch me. If I die, you will know I was wrong. But if I live—" She did not finish the sentence. Instead, she tilted the bottle back and took a long, deep drink. The purple syrup was thick and sweet on her tongue. She swallowed once, twice, 3 times. When she lowered the bottle, she had consumed about 4 times the recommended dose for a human child. The entire village went silent. Every eye was on her, waiting for her to collapse, waiting for her to scream in pain, waiting for the poison to do its work. Seconds passed. Then more seconds. Then a full minute. Nothing happened. Sumi stood there, calm and steady. Her heart was beating a little fast from the tension, but otherwise she felt completely normal. The medicine sat in her stomach, doing absolutely nothing harmful. "This is a trick," Baru said, but his voice was uncertain now. "Some kind of human deception." "Check me with your scanner," Sumi said. She held out her arm. "Scan my body. Look at what is happening inside me." Baru hesitated, then pointed his scanner at her. He studied the readings for a long moment. His eyes grew wider and wider. "Impossible," he breathed. "The substances are in her blood. They are moving through her body, but they are not damaging anything. Her organs are processing them like food, because to me, they are harmless," Sumi said. "My body knows how to handle these chemicals. They flow through me, and then they leave. They do not stay. They do not hurt me." She turned to Ryan, who was staring at her with a mix of hope and terror. "I cannot promise you that this will work," Sumi said honestly. "Your son's body is different from mine. But I can tell you that this medicine is designed to fight exactly the kind of sickness Tal has. It breaks up the thick fluid in the lungs. It calms the cough. It helps the body fight the infection." Ryan looked down at her son. Tal's eyes were closed. His breathing had become even more shallow. Each small rise of his chest seemed like it might be the last. "He's dying," Ryan said, her voice breaking. "He's dying right now, in my arms. The healer says there is nothing more he can do. The medicine ship will not come in time." She looked up at Sumi, tears running down her furred face. "If I do nothing, I lose him. If I try your medicine, I might lose him faster." She closed her eyes. "But at least if I try, I am doing something. I am fighting for him." Loru started to protest, but Ryan silenced him with a look. "This is my choice," she said firmly. "This is my son. I am his mother. I will decide." She carried Tal forward and held him out toward Sumi. The cub was so light, so fragile. His small paw hung down limply. "Please," Ryan said. "Please save my son." Sumi took a deep breath. She measured out a small dose of the medicine, much smaller than what she had taken herself. Her hands were steady, but inside, she was shaking with fear. What if she was wrong? What if the medicine that healed human children truly was poison to Volari cubs? But what choice did she have? Do nothing and watch Tal die? Or try and give him a chance? She brought the measuring cup to Tal's lips. "Hold his head up," she said to Ryan, "and open his mouth just a little." Ryan obeyed, her hands trembling. Slowly, carefully, Sumi poured the purple syrup into the cub's mouth. Everyone held their breath, and they waited to see what would happen next. The purple syrup slid down Tal's throat. His small body reacted immediately. He coughed and sputtered, his tiny paws twitching. Ryan gasped and pulled him close, her eyes wild with fear. "What is happening?" she cried. "What is it doing to him?" Sumi stayed calm even though her heart was pounding. "It is okay. The medicine has a strong taste. He's just reacting to that. Give him a moment." The entire village watched in frozen silence. Baru had his scanner pointed at the cub, tracking every change in his small body. His whole face was tight with concentration and worry. Seconds passed. They felt like hours. Tal stopped coughing. His body relaxed in his mother's arms. His breathing was still shallow, still labored, but he was not getting worse. At least, not immediately. The substance is in his blood now, Baru reported, his voice tense. It is spreading through his system. His body is... I do not understand. His body is not rejecting it. That is good, Sumi said. That means his system can process it. We do not know that yet, Baru warned. The effects of poison can take time to show. Ryan looked between the healer and the human, fear and hope fighting for control of her face. What do we do now? Now we wait, Sumi said. And we keep him warm and comfortable. I will stay with him and watch for any changes. Baru started to protest, but Ryan cut him off. She stays, the mother said firmly. She risked her own life to show us this medicine was safe. She has earned the right to stay. The old healer fell silent. He did not agree, but he also could not argue with a mother defending her child. They moved Tao back into the small roundhouse. Ram laid him gently on the bed and covered him with soft blankets. Sumi sat on the floor nearby, her medical bag open beside her. She checked the cub's temperature by holding her hand near his forehead, not touching but close enough to feel the heat radiating from his small body. He was still burning with fever. How long until we know? Ryan asked. The medicine needs time to work, Sumi said. A few hours, maybe more. If the fever starts to drop and his breathing gets easier, we will know it is helping. Ryan nodded and settled beside her son, stroking his fur with gentle fingers. Baru sat in the corner, still watching his scanner, still distrustful but too curious to leave. The hours crawled by slowly. Sumi watched Tal like a hawk watches a rabbit. She noticed every small movement, every twitch, every change in his breathing pattern. Outside, she could hear the villagers talking in worried voices. Some were angry that the human had been allowed to give medicine to a child. Others were hopeful that maybe, just maybe, the outsider could save him. As the two suns climbed higher in the orange sky, something changed. Tal coughed. But this cough was different from before. It was deeper, wetter. Something was breaking loose inside his small lungs. Sumi leaned forward with interest. That is good. That is very good. Good? Ryan looked at her with confusion. He sounds worse. No, listen. The cough is productive now. His body is pushing out the thick fluid that was blocking his airways. The medicine is working. Baru scanned the cub again. His eyes widened slightly. She is correct. The mucus in his lungs is breaking apart. It is moving up into his throat. He sounded amazed despite himself. His body is actually expelling the infected material. Over the next hour, Tal coughed up more and more of the thick, yellowish fluid that had been drowning his lungs. It was not a pretty sight, but Sumi smiled every time it happened. Each cough meant more space for air. Each cough meant his body was fighting back. Then, in the middle of the afternoon, the most beautiful thing happened. Tal opened his eyes. They were the same amber color as his mother's, but clearer now, less clouded with pain. He looked around the room with confusion, his gaze settling on Sumi. Mama, he said in a small, weak voice. Who is that? Ryan burst into tears. She gathered her son in her arms and held him tight, her whole body shaking with relief. That is our friend, she whispered. That is Sumi. She helped you get better. Tal looked at Sumi with the innocent curiosity that only children have. She looks different. She is human, Ryan explained. Oh. Tal thought about this for a moment. She has funny ears. Despite everything, Sumi laughed. It was a sound of pure relief, of joy, of victory over death itself. Myru approached slowly, his scanner still in his hand. He scanned the cub one more time and stared at the results in disbelief. His fever is dropping, the old healer said. The infection is retreating. His oxygen levels are rising. He looked at Sumi with new eyes, eyes that held respect instead of fear. You saved him. The human medicine. It actually saved him. It is not over yet, Sumi cautioned. He will need more doses over the next few days. And he needs rest, lots of rest. But yes, I think he's going to be okay. Ryan reached out and took Sumi's hand. It was the first time any of the Valari had willingly touched her. The mother's furred fingers were soft and warm. Thank you, Ryan said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you for not giving up on him. Thank you for being brave enough to show us we were wrong. Sumi squeezed her hand gently. I am a healer. This is what I do. It does not matter what species you are. Sick children should not die if there is any way to save them. Word spread quickly through the settlement. The humans' poison medicine had saved the dying cub. Beings gathered outside Ryan's house, whispering in amazement. Some wanted to see for themselves. Others sent food and gifts for the recovering child. As night fell, Sumi sat outside the house, finally allowing herself to rest. Her body was tired, but her heart was full. She had done something good today, something that mattered. Baru came and sat beside her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I owe you an apology, the old healer finally said. I was so certain that you meant harm. I was so afraid of what you represented. I almost let that fear cost us a child's life. Sumi shook her head. You were protecting your people. That is nothing to apologize for. The databases say humans are dangerous, and in many ways, they are right. We carry things that can hurt other species. But we also carry things that can help. How do we tell the difference? Baru asked. Sumi thought about the question. I think you have to give us a chance. You have to watch what we do, not just what we are. A poison can be a medicine, and a medicine can be a poison. It all depends on how it is used. Baru nodded slowly. I am old. I have spent my whole life learning about healing. And today, a young human taught me more in a few hours than I learned in 100 years of study. He placed his old hand on Sumi's shoulder. Thank you, healer from the stars. You have given me much to think about. He went back inside, leaving Sumi alone with the stars. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The rescue ship might come. Decisions would have to be made. But for now, in this quiet moment, Sumi allowed herself to simply exist. A soft sound came from the doorway. She turned to see Tal standing there, wrapped in a blanket, his mother hovering anxiously behind him. Mama said I should be in bed, Tal said. But I wanted to see the stars with you. Sumi smiled and patted the ground beside her. Come sit with me. But just for a little while. The cub walked over on unsteady legs and curled up against her side. His small body was warm, and his silver fur tickled her arm. The stars are pretty, he said sleepily. Yes, Sumi agreed. They are. Are there more humans up there? Lots of them. Millions and millions. Tal was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, Are they all like you? Sumi thought about humans. About their wars and their kindness. About their cruelty and their compassion. About all the beautiful and terrible things they were capable of. Some of them, she said. I hope so anyway. The cub yawned and snuggled closer. Within minutes, he was asleep. I did not move. She sat there under the alien stars, a human healer holding an alien child, and wondered what the future would bring. Whatever it was, she was ready to face it. 3 days passed on the alien moon. 3 days that changed everything. Tal recovered quickly, the way children often do. By the second day, he was sitting up and eating. By the third day, he was running around the village, chasing the smaller creatures that lived in the blue grass. His cough was almost gone, and his fur had regained its healthy silver shine. The Valari watched him with joy and wonder. Their cub had been dying. Now he was playing and laughing like nothing had happened. And it was all because of the strange human and her strange medicine. News traveled fast among the Valari. They had communication devices that connected their settlements across the entire moon. Within hours of Tal's recovery, the story had spread everywhere. A human had crashed near the village of Moonrise. A human had offered to help a dying cub. A human had drunk her own poison to prove it was safe. And the cub had lived. Other Valari began arriving at the village. Some came from nearby settlements, walking for hours through the valleys. Others came from farther away, using small flying vehicles that hummed through the orange sky. They all wanted to see the human. They all wanted to understand. Sumi was overwhelmed by the attention. She had never been comfortable with crowds, and having dozens of curious aliens staring at her was not making things easier. But she did her best to answer their questions, explain her actions, and show them that humans were not the monsters their databases described. "Is it true that you drink the poison every day?" one young Valari asked. "We call it medicine," Sumi said patiently. "And yes, humans use it when they are sick. It helps us feel better. But your blood contains iron. Iron is deadly to us." "It is deadly to you," Sumi agreed. "But to humans, iron is essential. Our blood cannot carry oxygen without it. We would die without iron." The young Valari's eyes grew wide. "You would die without a poison? That is very strange." Sumi smiled. "I suppose it is. But that is the universe, is it not? Full of strange and wonderful things." Boru had become her unofficial translator and guide. The old healer followed her everywhere, answering questions from his people and taking notes on everything Sumi said. He had started a new project, a medical database of human substances that might be useful to the Valari. This information could change everything, Byru told her one evening. "For generations, we have avoided humans completely. We believed you were walking death, a species too dangerous to approach. But if your medicines can save our children..." "Not all of them will work," Sumi cautioned. "Some things that help humans really would hurt you. We need to be careful. We need to test each substance slowly and safely." Yes, of course. But the fact that any of your medicines can help us is amazing. It opens up possibilities we never imagined." On the morning of the fourth day, something appeared in the sky. A small dark shape, growing larger as it approached. Sumi recognized the design immediately. It was a human rescue shuttle. Her people had found her. The shuttle landed in the blue grass outside the village. Two humans climbed out, wearing the gray uniforms of the Stellar Rescue Corps. One was a tall man with short black hair. The other was a woman with kind eyes and a worried expression. "Sumi," the woman called out. "We have been looking everywhere for you. Are you hurt? Are you okay?" Sumi walked toward them, suddenly aware of how strange she must look. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair was a mess. And she was surrounded by a crowd of furry, cat-faced aliens who watched the newcomers with nervous curiosity. "I am fine," she said. "Better than fine, actually. I have been helping the local people." The tall man looked at the Valari with suspicion. "Helping them? These are Valari, right? They are listed as a no-contact species. They consider humans dangerous." "They did," Sumi said. "But we have been working on that." She explained everything that had happened. The crash. The dying cub. The desperate gamble with the medicine. The days of recovery and learning that followed. The two rescue workers listened with growing amazement. "You drank 4 doses of children's cough syrup to convince them it was safe?" the woman asked. "It worked, did it not?" The tall man shook his head in disbelief. That is either the bravest thing I have ever heard or the craziest. Maybe both, Sumi admitted. A small figure pushed through the crowd of Valari. It was tall, with Ryan close behind him. The cub ran right up to Sumi and grabbed her leg in a tight hug. "You are leaving?" he asked, looking up at her with those big amber eyes. Sumi knelt down to his level. "I have to go back to my people. But I promise I will not forget you. I will never forget you." Tal's lower lip trembled. "Will you come back?" Sumi looked at Ryan, then at Boru, then at all the Valari who had gathered to watch. A week ago, these beings would have run from her in terror. Now they were looking at her with something close to friendship. "I would like to," she said. "I would like to come back and learn more about your people. And maybe teach you more about mine." Ryan stepped forward. She was holding something in her hands. A small necklace made of blue stones that matched the color of the grass. "We want you to have this," Ryan said. "It is a mother's blessing, given to those who protect children." She placed the necklace around Sumi's neck. The stones were cool against her skin. "Among our people, you are now Talkira," Ryan continued. "It means second mother. You saved my son. You will always be part of our family." Sumi felt tears building in her eyes. "Thank you. That means more to me than I can say." Byru approached with a small data device. "I have compiled all of our conversations into this. Information about our biology, our medicines, our reactions to human substances. I hope you will share it with your healers. Perhaps together, we can learn things that neither of us could learn alone." Sumi took the device and held it carefully. "I will make sure this gets to the right people. This could be the beginning of something important." The rescue workers were getting impatient. They had other survivors to find, other missions to complete. Sumi understood. She gave Tal one last hug, whispered goodbye to Ryan and Baru, and walked toward the shuttle dot at the doorway. She turned back. The Valari were watching her, a crowd of silver and gray against the blue grass and orange sky. It was a scene she would remember for the rest of her life. "Goodbye," she called out. "And thank you for giving me a chance." Tal waved his small paw. "Goodbye, Sumi. Come back soon." She climbed into the shuttle. The doors closed. The engines hummed to life. And slowly, the small vessel rose into the sky. Through the window, Sumi watched the village grow smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny dot in the vast landscape. Then the shuttle broke through the clouds and the moon disappeared from view. The woman rescue worker sat beside her. "That was incredible, what you did down there. You might have started something huge." Sumi touched the blue stones around her neck. "I was just trying to help a sick child. And you ended up changing how an entire species sees humans. Not bad for a week's work." Sumi leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. She was tired, more tired than she had ever been. But it was a good kind of tired. The kind that comes from doing something that matters. Somewhere on the moon below, a small cub was running through blue grass. Healthy and alive because a strange creature from the stars had refused to give up on him. Somewhere, an old healer was rewriting everything he knew about humans. Somewhere, a mother was telling her child stories about the brave human who drank poison to prove it was medicine. Sumi smiled to herself. They had warned the Valari about humans. They had said humans were dangerous, toxic, deadly, and they were right. Humans could be all of those things, but they could also be healers, protectors, friends. The shuttle flew toward the rescue ship waiting in orbit. And Sumi carried with her not just the memory of what happened, but the hope of what could happen in the future. A galaxy full of different species. A universe full of fear and misunderstanding. And somewhere in between, people like Sumi, building bridges one act of kindness at a time. That was what humans were really made of. Not poison, not danger. Love, courage, and the stubborn. refusal to let a child die. The star shone bright through the shuttle window, and somewhere, a cub named Tal was asking his mother to tell him the story of the human again. One more time. Just one more time.